Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to 31 Days to Business Startup. Today is day 4. Who is your client or customer? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of being able to identify your ideal client and or customer. And this is important because I think a lot of times we say to ourselves, I'm creating a business and I want everybody to be my client and customer. And the reality is, your business could potentially get to the point where anyone and everyone will come to you. But in the beginning, it's going to be important to kind of focus on that kind of one ideal customer. Because in your capacity to meet the needs of your ideal client or customer, you will inevitably and eventually be able to meet the needs of many types of clients and customers. But in order to be successful, you really got to start with your one ideal client. And so some of the characteristics that you're going to consider is demographics, socioeconomic, geographic, psychographic, and behavior. All these things really play a role in why your particular ideal client is going to choose you for their product and or service. And so one of the things that I want you to do one day is to sit down and, create a client persona and really just write it down and figure out who is your ideal client. So for example, some of the assets, some of the kind of more definitive information about each of these kind of characteristics is when you think about demographics, think about age and gender and income and things that are related to their demographics. And then when you're thinking about socioeconomic, what are their skills? Are they educated? Do they have a vocational skill? Different things, what is their socioeconomic situation? Perhaps they're maybe your clientele is middle class to upper class. Things of that nature. And then geographic, who are you targeting? Is it just people in maybe your local town, your state, the United States, Canada, or maybe your business is international? Psychographic really is trying to kind of hone in on that. What is that personality type? You know, what is their preference, for a particular product or service? And then behaviors is pretty important because if you can really identify what are their likes and their dislikes, what kind of things they get involved in, what kind of sports or hobbies or whatever, when you understand their behavior, then you understand what you need to do to draw their attention and what you need to provide based on kind of their behavior. And then some other things you might want to consider is, where do these people hang out? What do they need and why do they need it now? And then where, like for instance, one of the most important things that's happening right now as it relates to kind of attracting customers is considering where do they conduct their research process. And for the most part, a lot of people do the research process online and or word of mouth. And so those two mechanisms become really important when you're considering how to reach your ideal client. And then what are the benefits that they're looking for? So I'm going to use, and I think their age range is between 30 and 50. I think I think the people that are interested in business development coaching services are people that probably have some education and or a vocational skill, because a lot of times people, if they have a vocational skill, like maybe they do hair or maybe they're a plumber or whatever, they tend to have the need to want to maybe one day own their own business. And then their what I call their psychology is they know they need help, right? And surely there's a lot of help out there in terms of helping people start up small businesses, but somewhere in their mind they want to be a part of this community, and they want to get support from somebody like them. And then behaviors. I identify my client persona behavior as someone who is, who's a hustler. You know what I mean? Like they're about making that money and they're about being their own boss and they're about creativity and they're about empowering themselves. And they're serious. I say that my persona, my client persona are people who are serious about money. They're like, look, I work my butt off and I deserve to be compensated financially for it. And so for me, that's the kind of behaviors that I want. Some other things that I'm thinking about in terms of my client persona is that, this the entrepreneur is just fed up. They know they want to start a business or they've already started a business and they really want to take it to the next level. And for the first time, they're realizing, first of all, that they don't know everything and that they need some help. And secondly, they want to be a part of a community that's more like them. Because I know that frustration. I do a lot of stuff with, kind of mainstream business community. And there is this kind of thing in me like, well, where's the LGBT community? But they're like me. They're like, I can get this help from mainstream, but it would be nice to kind of get it in a more concentrated way with other folks that are kind of like me and dealing with the same kind of struggles that I'm dealing with. But I think lastly and more importantly, my client persona is someone who says to themselves, it's time for me to get some help. And it's time for me to get the kind of help where I am accountable, that I have to get off my butt. I have to start doing the things that I need to do as it relates to my business. And so, because they know that, look, I'm going to get this business development coaching and mentoring, but more importantly, I'm going to be held accountable because in what I do in the business academy is I really challenge people to set goals and then try to achieve those goals. So I say all that to say, when you're thinking about starting up your business, think about who is your client and really write that information down and get specific so that you can focus on doing the kind of work that will attract their attention. I hope you got a little something out of this. Thank you for joining me. As always, visit our website. So once again, thank you for joining me. Take care of yourself and peace and love.